Dear colleagues, good morning. It's nice to see all of you. First of all, thank you for your time and your attention to this presentation. Today we will talk about cybersecurity protection for the modern cars. In the next 30 minutes, we will talk with you. We will see latest cybersecurity incidents with cars and in automotive industry. We will see what hackers can actually do with the cars on the road. We will talk about new automotive cyber stance for remote security testing of modern cars and standalone ECUs. We will also look at the new attack vectors for ADAS and autopilot systems. And in the end, we will look with you at the demonstration of the several real-life hacking scenarios. We will see what hackers can do with the cars on the road, and we will talk about new automotive cybersecurity solutions. So in the beginning, let me first introduce the company a little bit. NavInfo Europe is the part of the global holding NavInfo. That was the pioneer in the mapping service in China and has extended its business in HD map services, in high accuracy positioning, in cloud services, and in automotive semiconductors. NavInfo Holding operates globally and has offices in US, in China, in Europe, in Singapore. NavInfo Europe is the part of the global holding. We are based in the Netherlands, in Eindhoven. We act as a research and development center, as an innovation hub in Europe. And our main expertise lays in cybersecurity, in NDS compilation, in global customer support. We started our cybersecurity services in 2018, and 3 years ago we created the Cyber Garage and Cyber Lab in Eindhoven for cybersecurity testing of the modern cars, standalone ECUs, and for the development of new automotive cybersecurity solutions. When we talk about our cybersecurity expertise, our main expertise is car penetration testing and standalone ECU penetration testing. We have huge expertise in the reverse engineering and security assessment of the automotive interfaces. We have huge expertise in wireless security, telecom security, and security testing of the keyless system in the car. And we have huge expertise in real-life situation of the real-life hacking scenario against the connected vehicles. What we see that the number of the cybersecurity incidents with cars grows every year. In last year, our team counted more than 900 unique cybersecurity incidents with the cars. And we see that hackers started to attack cars more often. On the screen, you can see examples of the several cybersecurity incidents with the cars. And one of the biggest examples in last year, it was the incident with Kia and Hyundai, when vulnerability in USB-A interface was used to steal the cars, to start the engine and to steal the cars. And this vulnerability, cybersecurity vulnerability, affected more than 4 million cars across the globe. And automakers had to ask their clients to bring their cars to the dealer center to urgently install software updates to fix this vulnerability. But actually, every big OEM in last year had similar cybersecurity incidents with their car. The same situation we see in general with OEM and with automotive suppliers. We see that hackers started more often to attack automotive infrastructure. They started to penetrate in automotive networks and control them. And one of the biggest and most famous incidents in this area is the incident with the company Continental. It was published in this year, in February, that more than 40 terabytes of the confidential information was stolen by hacking group Logbit. More than 40 terabytes of the data was stolen, including the source code of the Continental products. And what we see that it's only the top of the iceberg, that these incidents, they are public incidents, but the real number of cybersecurity incidents in cars and in automotive industry is much, much higher, because most of the incidents, they remains undetected and they remains invisible. What hackers can actually do with the car already on the roads, what hackers can actually do with the car right now. Based on our experience, we see that hackers first start with the receiving initial entry point to the car via such models like infotainment, online connectivity unit, car-to-X unit, actually any model which has connectivity with the external world. And connectivity is the crucial thing. hackers search for vulnerabilities in the wireless connectivity, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Car2X, telecom connectivity, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, NFC interfaces, custom radio protocols. Hackers also search for vulnerabilities in physical connectivity. They analyze all network ports, CAN ports, VD2 ports, JTAG ports, Ethernet, automotive Ethernet ports. The idea is to find vulnerability in the external interface and receive initial entry point. And after receiving initial entry points, attackers escalate their privileges, install the backdoors in other critical systems inside the car, in the gateway, in online connectivity unit, in ADAS and autopilot system for remote controlling of the car. After installing the backdoors, based on our experience, usually all hackers' activity can be split into two big groups. First group of this hacker activity is when hackers try to remotely control the car, send malicious command to the ECU. What we already see in the reality, we see that hackers can open the doors of the car and windows of the car, hackers can launch the engine, and hackers can remotely send command to ADAS and autopilot system. They also try to influence on the steering function, on the brakes of the car. It's one big type of the activity, which we already see. Another big type of the activity is activity correlated with the privacy violations. So we see that after they hack in the car, after receiving the initial entry point inside the car, hackers remotely connect to the microphone to listen all the audio conversation between the driver and the passenger. Hackers remotely connect to the car's camera to record and steal recorded data. Hackers track the car geolocation to see where the car is located right now and where the car was located previously. And hackers try to steal all confidential information from the car. For example, they steal SMS and the contacts from the mobile devices which are connected to the infotainment units. And all this attack is our nowadays reality. And the problem is that most of the car which you see on the road right now, they are vulnerable, they are unprotected, and hackers actually can control them. And current cybersecurity programs, current automotive cybersecurity programs need to be redesigned, significantly redesigned to change the situation, to change this approach. Let's talk about technical and organizational problems in current automotive cybersecurity programs. What we see, let's start with the public bug bounty programs. On the screen, you can see example of the public bug bounty program from one big and famous automakers in the world. Bug bounty program is the program when you give financial reward to cybersecurity expert or to the cybersecurity team for discovering the vulnerability in your car. You can see that this big automaker gives more than $1 million every year to independent cybersecurity expert or to the cybersecurity team for discovering vulnerabilities in its car. The problem is, it's the only one automaker in the world who has such type of public bug bounty programs. All other big OEM don't have such public bug bounty programs. They have bug bounty programs for their IT infrastructure, for their web application, cloud application, mobile application, but not for their cars. And absence of such public bug bounty program for the cars and for the standalone ECUs, automotive ECU, it's only small part of the technical and organizational problems which we see right now in the industry. The list of the problem, technical problem and organizational problem is much, much bigger. First, one of the biggest problems is growth in the technical complexity. Technical complexity of the car grows every year. Modern car already has millions lines of the code with potential vulnerability and the weaknesses in it. And every year, automakers and suppliers, they add new functionality to the car. They add new lines of code which potentially can have vulnerability and the weaknesses. Another big problem is the growth in the connectivity. Modern car already receive regular software updates, and the size of these software updates is growing. And in addition to these software updates, automakers and suppliers, they add new user experience. They, for example, provide gaming experience. They allow users to install external application in their car. And all this new user experience, all this new functionality also create new landscape for the attackers, which they can use to receive initial entry point inside the car. The third big technical and organizational problem is complexity in supply chain. What we see that automakers, they use many different suppliers. Each of them has its own level of maturity in cybersecurity protection. And it's the big problem, it's the big question, who should be responsible in case if the vulnerability is discovered in an automotive device? Is it responsibility of the supplier who developed such vulnerable device? Is it vulnerability of automakers who did not do proper cybersecurity testing before integration of this vulnerable device in its car? What we see right now with our clients is that big automakers, they try to define cybersecurity requirements for their suppliers. But unfortunately, this approach actually doesn't work because it's cybersecurity on paper. Despite of existing cybersecurity requirements for the automotive suppliers, the number of the vulnerability is growing, and it's growing every year. To solve all these technical and organizational problems, we developed automotive cyber stand for remote cybersecurity testing of the modern cars and standalone ECUs. What is the idea behind this automotive cyber stands? The idea is that you can integrate any automotive device to our cyber stand, and it allows your engineers to do any cybersecurity test with your automotive ECU, with your car, remotely, without physical visit to the garage from their home or from their offices. How it works? Our cyber stand connects physically to every existing interface in ECU, physical interface, CAN ports, automotive Ethernet ports, LIN ports, GTAC interfaces, debugging interfaces, for security testing. Our cyber stand provides tools for vulnerability scanning and for smart fuzzing all wireless interfaces inside the car, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Car2X, NFC, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. Our cyber stand also intercepts all traffic between the car and the external cloud services. So it actually listens and intercepts all connection, all communication between the car and the external world via the cloud for security assessment and for the security analysis. Also, our stance allows to control what actually your engineers is doing and what actually they're testing, because they're recording every input which is sent to the automotive interface and every output from automotive interface as the video. So it actually allows you to control was the security testing organized properly or not, and who did what. Plus, our cyber stands provide for every engineer, for every team, dedicated virtual space, dedicated virtual machines with pre-installed cybersecurity tools. It also allows engineers to install any additional, any new cybersecurity tools for security testing. And in summary, it allows for cybersecurity engineers, for your quality management teams, for your cybersecurity teams to organize any cybersecurity testing with any cars or any automotive ECU remotely without physical visit of the garage. What we already see in our projects with the clients, we see that such type of the approach, when you do all your tests via the automotive cyber stands, it allows you to see all successful and unsuccessful attempts. It allows you to automatically generate evidence for cybersecurity compliance like VP29, ISO 21434. We also see that our clients started to use such type of automotive cyber stands for internal education of their teams and their new team members, because they can show how previously security testing organized for the previous version of the hardware and the software, and how new cybersecurity testing should be organized for the new version of the hardware and for the software. In addition to automotive cyber stand, we also provide manual penetration testing for the all cars and for the standalone ECUs. How we actually do it? We disassemble the car, we disassemble the ECU, we identify all available interfaces, we dump the firmware, we do the dynamical and statical security firmware analysis. We discover the vulnerabilities. We develop the exploit for using these vulnerabilities, and we show how hackers can use this vulnerability actually in reality. So how hackers can remotely control the car, how hackers can remotely send malicious command to the ECU, how hackers can remotely connect to the microphone, to the cameras, to track the car geolocation, how hackers can organize the data breaches. We pay particular attention to this real-life hacking simulation in our cyberstand during providing our cybersecurity services. In addition to this, we also provide vulnerability scanning and smart fuzzing for all wireless interfaces which exist right now in the car. We developed in-house tools for smart fuzzing. Smart fuzzing allows us to first see the normal profile of all of the network connection in wireless interface, create the normal profile of the traffic, and after that, organize fuzzing for every field in the network protocols to discover the new vulnerabilities in wireless chipset, in wireless firmware, in wireless driver in the cars. But we are not only do the security testing for the car itself, we also do the security testing for the whole ecosystem around the car. So for all backend services, cloud services, mobile application. We also do security assessment for all of the third parties which communicate with the car. Content providers, software update providers, remote diagnostic services. It allows us to see the big picture. It allows us to check the cybersecurity protection for the whole ecosystem, and it allows us to detect the vulnerabilities in all ecosystem around the car. After detecting the vulnerabilities, we provide our clients detailed guidelines and recommendation how to fix them. We also support our clients in assessing the impact which every vulnerability has on the performance of the vehicle, on the safety of the vehicle, on the user experience. We also allow our clients to analyze and support them in analysis of the remediation of the complexity for every vulnerability and the criticality for every software update. And all this, as I promised you in the beginning, that I will show you several examples of real-life hacking scenario, what hackers can actually do with the car right now on the road. I would like to show you two short videos. In the first video, we will show you how hackers can actually manipulate the data on the speedometer display of the real car. And in the second short video, I will show you how hackers can remotely connect to the microphone inside the car to listen all the conversation between driver and passenger. Let's look at these two short videos. First video, control of the speedometer display.
Test microphone capture 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 test. Test microphone capture 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 test.
And all these attacks are real. You can find more real-life hacking examples and more real-life videos in our website and in our recent public cybersecurity research for the modern vehicles, which we presented in the Black Hat conference in the last year. But all these attacks, which I mentioned before, it's our nowadays reality. It's what already hackers can do with the car. We also try to think what will happen tomorrow, what kind of cybersecurity attacks will be tomorrow, when car will become more smarter, when car will have autopilot with layer 3 and layer 4 functions and the use cases. And what we expect that hackers will start to attack also this functionality. Will start to attack new type of the sensors, new type of the computer vision systems which is used inside the car, radars and the lidars. and we'll try to fool them to change their trajectory, to change their speed, to increase their speed, to stop. And the object, the target of the attack will be the AI systems, which is used in ADAS and autopilot systems. And the idea will be to fool this AI to make the wrong prediction about the real situation on the road. And we already see more and more scientific researchers and academic researchers in this area. Particularly, we see more and more adversarial machine learning attacks which try to fool AI models which is used inside ADAS and autopilot systems. And all these researches, all this academic publication, it's not only paper research, it's not only the articles. We also see that independent researchers try to create real-life cases with the live ADAS and autopilot system when they try to fool the car. For example, when they try to attack lane detection mechanism, or when they try to attack depth estimation mechanism, or when they create special adversarial patches for the road sign detection, or to fool the car in vehicle detection or in the pedestrian detection. Fortunately, this attack, which we see right now, it's still academic researchers. We don't see them right now on the roads in real-life incidents, but to my mind, it's only a question of time when we'll start to see this attack in the reality in the future. And that's why we developed the platform, we call it Guard AI, for security and safety testing of the AI models, which is used inside the ADAS and autopilot system. This Guard AI platform generates all type of adversarial machine learning attacks of all type of adversarial machine learning input and try to fool AI model, which is used in ADAS and autopilot system. This Guard AI platform also generates all types of the noises and the different weather condition and different type of the perturbation, and try to analyze robustness and security robustness of the AI models which is used in ADAS and autopilot system. This platform is available on our website. You can register, you can receive trial access to it, and you can start to use it for security testing and for the robustness evaluation of your models which you are using. The platforms, automotive cybersecurity platforms and automotive cybersecurity tools which we are developing right now, they allow not only to prevent cybersecurity risks, financial risk, reputational risk, or legal risks. They also allow our clients to get additional insight on the quality of the software and the hardware which they are using inside their car. It also allows our clients to save the costs for finding the right talents and right tools in their cybersecurity programs. And it allows our clients to be compliant with all modern automotive cybersecurity regulations. What we actually propose and what we actually propose as a cooperation for you. So if you're automakers, if you're automotive supplier, and if you're interested to know what hackers can do with your car or with your automotive device in real life, if you are interested to extend your existing cybersecurity program, if you want to receive second opinion about your existing cybersecurity program, if you want to organize security testing for your ADAS and autopilot system, please let us know. We would be happy to help you and assist you. You can find our teams in the exhibition room on this booth number 26. Please feel free to ask your questions. And at any time, you and all of your colleagues are more than welcome to visit our cyber garage in Eindhoven, where we can show you all of our automotive cybersecurity platforms and tools in real life. Thank you for your time and your attention. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sergey, for this very impressive presentation. I have a question for myself. Because we from MSG, we ourselves tried or requested to hack in Porsche because we know their weaknesses, but was stopped by legal issues. How can we convince the OEMs or the suppliers to really ensure this, the cybersecurity, or to spend more time in threat analysis? Do you have a solution?
So it's a very good question. Thank you for this question. So what we see that automakers, big automakers, of course, they have different level of maturity in their automotive cybersecurity programs, but every of them understand that how important cybersecurity right now for the modern cars. And one of the biggest motivation is real incidents with their cars and real vulnerability which can be discovered, which can be demonstrated. And that's why what we usually do, we usually start with the penetration testing of the car, penetration testing of the standalone ECU model to show to automakers, to show to the supplier how vulnerable can be this model of this car. And usually we use this initial penetration test as the start of the conversation.
Okay, thanks. Do we have additional question?
Please.
Hi, great talk, first of all. I have a question as a non-cybersecurity expert. Imagine if you're a hacker, what is the reward-effort ratio and which threat would you say is the highest for an automaker? Because the reverse engineering some proprietary radio protocol is probably not worth for stealing one car.
But you can use it for stealing hundreds and thousands of the car across the globe. And actually, what happened with the Kia and Hyundai, when the vulnerability in USB-A interface allowed hackers and attackers and thieves start engine and steal the car. And it affected more than 4 million cars across the globe in the middle of last year. And it's a very good example which shows how important cybersecurity right now for every car and for automotive industry.
And sometimes the reward is because they can do it. And they are the first one.
Can you estimate the effort of the hackers which did this hack in working hours or engineers?
It's a very good question. There is no single answer on this. So it depends on the complexity of the software which is using. It depends on the complexity of the automotive interface which was used. In the example which I mentioned before, this vulnerability in the USB-A interface, vulnerability was very simple. So attackers need just to install any external USB stick in USB-A interface, and it started the ignition of the engine. So without any specific malicious code. Such type of the simple vulnerability, they are not very common. Usually, what we see, hackers use more sophisticated attacks. They highly prefer to search for vulnerabilities in wireless interfaces, in wireless, in Wi-Fi, in Bluetooth, in 2G, 3G, 4G. They prefer to find vulnerabilities in the KC models, in the custom radio protocols, because in this case, it's very difficult. Sometimes it's very difficult for automakers to very quickly fix this vulnerability. And cars stay unprotected, stays vulnerable for a very long period of time.
Okay, one final question for Martin.
Okay, thank you for a nice talk. Martin Targren, KTH, Stockholm. 2 reflections. When we look at cybersecurity, it seems to us that the main problem is a lack of awareness in general, and also for competence. We have new efforts in educating cybersecurity experts and in bridging the gaps between cybersecurity and safety in education. So I'm putting that questions to you. Do you also see awareness and a lack of education as a problem or opportunity?
It's definitely a problem. What we see, despite of increasing budgets, cybersecurity budgets, despite of hiring more and more cybersecurity professionals by automakers and by automotive suppliers, the level of cybersecurity awareness is still so low that when you do all this penetration test and when you show all this vulnerability to automakers and to automotive suppliers, it's almost always a new thing for them. So that's why what we see after implementation of our cyber stance for remote security testing, one of the first tasks which they started to use this automotive cyber stand, is for education of the existing and the new team members, They show them how in the past, cybersecurity tests were organized and how they should be organized in the future. Why? Because when you do the video recording, when you log every previous activity with your automotive ECU, when you log every your previous cybersecurity test, successful and unsuccessful, it allows your team members actually to study, to educate themselves. Sometimes even it allows them to compete between each other, who can do the cybersecurity test better in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Because, unfortunately, because of the time, we have to stop the question right now. But I'm sure you have much more questions. Please join Sergey in which booth?
Number 26.
Number 26. Yeah, let's give him for his great presentation a warm applause. Bedankt.